ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि। भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all who are listening this talk on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are deliberating upon the verses from chapter number 18, and this is the second half of this chapter 18. In the first half, Bhagavan has discussed few faculties, 6 in total. They are Jnana, Karma and Karta, and Dhruti, Buddhi and Sukha. These 6 components, based on their variance depending on the dominance of a particular quality, Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic. So that is, and then Chaturvarnya, Vyavhar, or due to the dominance of these particular gunas, their behavior differences. So that is the first portion of this first half of this 18th chapter. Now the second half is very beautiful verses from verse number 45 onwards. And these are as if the conclusion of all this dialogue what went on and these deliberations on various subjects throughout this Bhagavad Gita. So here, this 45th verse which we had taken in our last class, it says, Sve sve karmani abhiratah samsiddhim labhate narah swakarma niratah siddhim yatha vindati tashrunu. So, sve sve in swa means ourself, and sve it means in my own self, in my own. Sve sve karmani. So my own action. Karmani here kartavyani, or your own duties. Duties which are born out of your own character. That is the idea. Because there would be differentiation of various influence of Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic gunas. So therefore, sve sve karmani, that is my naturally born, abhiratah, naturally born duties, which are natural, organic, course of action for me, karmani, in such own action, if I remain absorbed and engaged, abhiratah, engaged, what will happen? Samsiddhim, the individual, samsiddhim labhate, individual will attain perfection. Siddhim, samsiddhim. Some here, samyak siddhim, that is the perfection, that you will reach the culmination. Samsiddhim labhate naraha, swakarma niratah siddhim, yatha vindati tashrunu. That by remaining engaged in one's own duty, one's own natural call of action, swakarma niratah siddhim yatha vindati, that how you will attain. Vindati literally means no. Okay, vindati literally means no. So what is the meaning of knowing that perfection? Here knowing means being. You become perfect. Here therefore this knowing, this word is used. That's why it signifies to the inner realization. Signifies to the inner realization. Siddhim yatha vindati swakarma niratah. By engage in your own natural call of action, you will realize this perfection. Siddhim yatha vindati tashrudu. Listen from me. Now listen. That is the. So the next verse, yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. So what does Bhagavan say? This is now the crux and this is the final opinion, thought and reflection of Bhagavan as far as one's choosing one's own course of action. What does he says? He says, see, yatah pravrittir bhutanam. Yatah, from that, wherefore of all beings, bhutanam, pravrittihi, pravritti bhavati, that is the meaning. Meaning that all beings come forth or they are brought into existence and they move into action from thereby. This pravritti means course of action. For all these beings, all including everything, all beings, when they goes into action, where from that pravritti or that will to do action ensures forth, from where it springs forth, that Bhagavan says, and that which has enveloped everything, ena sarvamidam tatam. Now somebody should not make any other or attribute any other meaning to this first phrase, yatha pravrittir bhutanam. Bhagavan has made it very clear in the second quarter, yena sarvamidam tatam. Means yena sarvamidam tatam. What does it points out to? It points out to that one consciousness, one Brahman. It points out to that. And that consciousness, as in the form of Ishvara, it is present in all beings, in the heart of all beings. And Bhagavan is referring to that, yatah pravrittir bhutanam, from which all beings get their pravritti or that urge or from where all beings receives that motivation or that initiation of that being into course of action. that has to come from within you. Pravrutti has to come from within you. That pravrutti comes forth from that consciousness of all beings. So yataha pravrittir bhutanam, that my will to work, that will comes from there. From where that will flows forth, that by which everything is covered, enveloped. Yena sarvamidam tatam. So in the second part of the first line, Bhagavan makes it clear. From where this will to work comes forth. That will to work comes from that which has covered everything. From there this will to work comes. From that consciousness. From that divine element. Due to the diffusion of different gunas, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, you might have clarity, you might have confusion, you might totally misunderstand it. All your good, bad, or halfway, all your action, they all come forth from it. Yataha pravrittir bhutanam, yena sarvamidam tatam. And Bhagavan said, swakarmana tam abhyarcha. That is the great thing. He says, tam, that divine abhyarcha, you worship that abhyarcha. So as if you are worshipping, how? Swakarmana, that through your work you are constantly worshipping that divine consciousness. Because your will to work itself flows from it. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. So your every action is therefore worship of that divine. So I am speaking, that is worship of the divine. You are listening, that is worship of the divine. So listening is also work. For that you had to come here, you chose to be seated here, you chose to listen and apply your mind to understand it. So even that become worship of the same consciousness from which your will flowed to take this course of action. That is the worship of the divine continuously going on. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. That manava, that human being, he realizes his perfection in this way. How? By worshipping that divine through his course of action. This is Bhagavan says. This is Bhagavan's as if the final conclusion as far as our life and world of action remains. In such a high pedestal, he puts this, our action, and why we should not abhor them, and what kind of deification or divinization is required of our action. All our actions. Yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam. Sarvam idam. Idam means the world, whole, everything which is the object of our perception or realization, that everything is the world. And everything of it is, tatam means it is covered, it is enveloped. So as if this thing remain in that consciousness is outer, this thing remains in it. Sarvam idam tatam. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. Worshipping it through your action, karmana. That is in third case, instrumental case. So your karma becomes instrument of worshipping it. That is the meaning. Your karmas, your every course of action. Your thought, a single thought which is willful, deliberate, where your ego is present, your self-identity is present. Every thought, every wave on the lake of your mind, that will be considered as karma. That will be considered as karma. As far as your identity remains, every modification of your mind would be karma. So therefore, not only you do something, so you will say, I am watching TV. So what they are saying, I am listening. What they are singing, I am listening. What they are showing, I am seeing. So you are practically not doing anything. Will that be karma? Yes, it will be karma. Are you reacting to it? Do you exist? Do you feel you are? Yes. Then do you feel when that knowledge is happening? Anything is happening in your mind? Yes, of course I am realizing. Whatever they are showing, I am therefore reacting. That's why I am understanding. Yes, then it will be action. It will be karma. So, you cannot escape karma. You cannot escape karma. So this karma becomes the instrument. And especially when we are actively and deliberately, consciously persuading some course of action, that will to work, to do something that proceeds from that one, the element of divine which is the soul of all, everything and every being. From that divine it comes forth, it flows forth, and through our action we are worshipping that divine. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. Human being will ultimately realize that perfection through this action only, by worshipping that divine through his actions. Then Bhagavan says, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat swabhavaniyatam karma kurvan napnoti kilvisham. This is something great message of Bhagavad Gita, the concept of swadharma. So what is swadharma? Bhagavan here very clearly says, swadharma is not just it referring to your contextual duties. They are not just your superficial duties. Swadharma doesn't only refer to. Suppose you are in some office, you are some clerk and you have some obligatory duties. Of course they are your duties, that is not the point. You are taking salary for it, you have entered into contract that you will provide this kind of services. Yes, they of course are your duties, there is no question about it. Swadharma is not referring to it. Swadharma is not referring to this kind of thing, where there is no enlightenment is required that it is duty. You have to do it. Anyway you would do it, otherwise you would be fined, or you also can be punished for it, because you are already taking money for it. So for that Gita is not required. That you should do your duties, for that Gita is not required. Shastras is not required. Bhagwan do not have to take birth and tell you that you fulfill your duties. Swadharma is not about it. So what is Swadharma? Bhagwan he is saying Swadharma and Paradharma. What is Paradharma? So here simple meaning is Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha. Swadharma, even if is with fault, Vigunaha, Viparita Guna. So what does this mean, Vigunaha? And Shreyan, that it is superior. Superior to what? Paradharmat. That it is superior to Paradharmat. Even if Swadharma is Vigunaha, and which is Swanushthitat, that is which is observed by you, which is you have established it, Swanushthitat. And so Swadharma here, this definition, or two-word definition come here, Swabhava Niyatam Karma. Swabhava Niyatam Karma. Purvan na apnoti kilvisham. Purvan na apnoti kilvisham. This kilvisham word comes here in the second time. It came very first in the very first verses in the second chapter. kurvanna apnoti kilbisham, that you will not gather any stain, that any negative credit because of that, even if your swabhavaniyatam karma, your swadharma is vigunaha. Now we have to understand this is a little deeper concept, and here swabhava, that is the particular character of that individual, and that will determine your sanskaras. Your character or charitra is made up of your sanskaras. Sanskaras come from your all actions. So whenever you do any work, it has two kinds of fruits. One is turned into your prarabdha, which has karma phala, which comes in the external world. That is fruit in the external world, karma and karma phala. This karma has another kind of fallout, and that is something within ourselves, and that we call samskara. So from our action, what kind of fruit it will give rise to, that is very uncertain, and we cannot determine. It is very difficult. It is very difficult. In this very chapter, Bhagavan has said, Adhishthanam tatha karta. So there are Daivam Chaivatra Panchamam, etc. There are 5 factors determining the fruit of any action. So what your action will bring it to you, bring back to you, it is very difficult to determine. You cannot control it. You cannot have check over it. You have to only meet it as it comes. You are definitely one way or other responsible for it, though you are not the only factor contributing to it. This has to be understood very well. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha pruthak vidam vividhascha pruthak cheshta daivam chaivatra pancham. So adhisthana, karta, karana, cheshta and daiva. These are the 5 factors determining a fruit of any course of action. So karta, you are the only one of them. You are only 20%. Rest 80% are the factors which are not exactly in your control. So cheshta might be somewhat in your control. Adhisthana, it may be in your control, may not be in your control. Karana, again, you can have recourse to it, you can have choice, or you might be totally helpless, whatever you have got. Karana, that is the instrument, the resources by which you engage into an action. You take help of those instruments. Adhisthana is the locus where the action happens. Cheshta are the different degrees of effort. You might do, you might able to, you are willing to, you might not be willing to do your full effort, wholesome effort, extreme effort or lukewarm effort. It might differ. And again, Daiva, that is Avyakta, this unknown factor, divine factor, that is not in our control. That is the samashti, that is in your not control. When that is happening, the environment, unseen, unforeseen factor. So all these things, they are responsible for any course of action to take to a fruition. So any action, therefore, so determining its external results, these all factors come into play, and that is very difficult to determine. We cannot compute this data. We cannot absolutely say that this will exactly gives rise to this kind of result. More or less, if there are no bigger, unsurprising intervention, So you might able to judge. So this year weather is like this, soil is like this, seed is like this, I water this plant, so they must bear this kind of fruit. Okay, and more or less your results are within the range. But any unseen foreseen factor goes haywire and whole equation is unsettled. Suppose now you are doing that orchard here, you go to another location, but that now place is different. Adhisthana has changed. Karana, therefore water you were using to water your field, now that water has changed. Or many other things, maybe your resources or your farm laborers, they have changed. The effort you wanted to put, you put or didn't put, or what happened, that might differ. And your whole result is therefore different now. So, but on the contrary, so spiritual life especially focuses on this internal effect of karma, which is called as samskara. We are the samam bonam, this aggregation of this samskara. This samskara makes who I am, what I am. This samskara makes my character. And this character defines everything. Of my capability, right from understanding to my ability to respond or endure, do certain thing or unable to do another thing, everything. This character defines who you are. What are your limits? What are your inclination, predisposition, your likings, your tendencies? So you are good at certain things and you are not good, you are not drawn towards other things. So this form your swabhava or prakriti or character. Now in a set of circumstances, how you should react to, how you should respond to, it is particularly determined by your swabhava. In any course of action, you are there, your friend is there, or some brother is there. For him, it would be very natural to go aggressively to fight. You might be other person, that is not your predisposition and that is not what is appropriate for you, or that does not suit you, or this will not cause your growth. Not necessarily swabhava means what is comfortable for you. Your dharma will take you further in the direction of moksha. It will cause your growth. So swabhava niyatam karma or your swadharma need not necessarily be comfortable. So mutely listening somebody's curses, because I am very mild nature person, so this is not what swadharma should teach you. So your dharma would be that you must grow from this stage, that you must take one step further, that you had not been able to, and this is a self-deprecating thing. So you must raise a voice, you must make clear, you must put your side across. So your swadharma should teach you that. So your dharma would be which will take you to grow spiritually, physically, mentally, intellectually. That would be your dharma. It will take you toward moksha. It will cause your growth from inside out, natural organic growth. That would be your dharma, swadharma. So even if that path, that course of action, that dharma now is fraught with fault. You think that you should do this is the right thing to do. Now that is your dharma. So somebody says, if you do that, then you will not get this extra money. If you do not take bribe, then you will not get this extra money. So another thing, paradharma, that other people's idea which is very natural and good for them, and they are professing that you also follow this, it might profess some, extra perks, extra, but that is not your dharma. Therefore, your dharma might be vigunaha, it might have some fault, but still it is your dharma. It is swa anushtitat. It is based upon you. It is established in you. Swa anushtitat. You are its foundation. It is meant for you. That path you must tread. That is your path. Swabhava niyatam. Determined by your own nature. Swabhava niyatam. That karma, that swadharma. Now, even if you do, suppose even if it is with any fault, and doing that thing, it might, incur some displeasure or whatever other obvious things which are probably not preferred, not pleasurable, not generally you would not accept it, but you have to do it. Now, doing this swadharma, this course of action, you do not acquire any evil, kilbisham. You do not acquire any evil. There is nothing wrong. That you must do that. What your swadharma is. What will take you nearer to moksha. What will cause your growth. Sometimes those course of action may not be the comfortable or preferred path. But that is your dharma. That you must do. That you must take that bitter pill. Swallow it. That is the idea of swadharma. That who you truly are and what you must do. So swadharma is determined by judging these both things correctly. The outside as well as the inside. Inside, that is you truly who you are, not blindly following others. What you must do, that idea. You might start with rudimentary understanding. You might make mistakes, but that is all right. You will slowly become perfect during the course of action, and you will establish it eventually within you to take the correct call, correct judgment of yourself and of the outside world. So you should not give that up. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat swabhavaniyatam karma kurvan na apnoti kilbisham. Na apnoti, you will not incur any evil. Na kilbisham. Bhagavan again reiterate this same idea. Bhagavan says, Sahajam karma kaunteya. That which is very naturally born course of action for you. Sahajam karma kaunteya. Now these are the circumstances presented. This is where I am. What I must do. How I must respond to that situation in a way that it will take me one step nearer to moksha. It will cause me to grow. I will become bigger. That course of action would be my dharma. So, sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet. There are situations when you have to take a difficult course of action. Dosham, that if you do this, then this big person will become very angry over you. So it has this dosha. But I must do that. So this because, or I should not do something which might, foster my prospects. So there might be various kinds of scenario. Something doing bad. Sometimes I might have to become very obstinate or harsh. or angry, that might be fault of that course of action. It is dosham. But what to do? You have to do that. That is your dharma, that you must discharge that duty. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet. Though it is with fault, it should not be given up. Sarvarambha hi doshena. That all action, all initiation of action, all beginnings of any action, sarva arambha, that all actions, hi doshena dhume nagri hivavrtaha. Like fire is enveloped by the smoke, so every action is covered by the faults. No action is absolutely pure. Every action has its own fault. So you should not fear the faults in a course of action. Like Arjuna here has to go to war. War will kill people. That is its fault. You should not count that fault. This is the duty. You are Kshatriya. Now his tendency was to run away. But that would not be his dharma. His dharma would be, he is Kshatriya, he is this kind of person. He is giving rise to his weakness. How he will grow? He will grow by surmounting and rising over his emotions and discharging his duties without getting affected. That would cause him growth. That situation has brought to him. He also had been party, but now he is chickening out at this moment. And that you cannot cite as virtue. Just talking big things, it doesn't make you virtuous. Your virtue stands here. You have to deliver here. There lies your virtue. Your karma awaits you. Your dharma awaits you. However it is with the fault, you cannot now step back. You must face, embrace and walk through it. That is the idea. It has this fault that it will render this Bharata without any legal age male person. It will kill them all. Now this is a great fault about which Arjuna speaks in the opening chapter, in his opening salvo. But this is what Krishna's conclusion is. That even though it has fault, now he cannot step back. He cannot give it up. This is what he has not concocted it. He has not fabricated it. Now he has been brought across it. Now there is no way to run away from it. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet. Though it is with fault, it should not be given up. Sarvarambha hi doshena dhume nagri ivavrtaha. That all actions are fraught with some kind of fault or other. So you should not think in this way, cite this as an excuse. This is the idea in this 48th verse. How this work should be done? What should be the attitude and philosophy? That is being explained in the next verse, 49th. So these are very lofty ideas, very grand ideas, but here is where Bhagavan is concluding here teachings. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spruha naishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasena adhigacchati. So Bhagavan says, asakta buddhi, that anasakta buddhi. Asakta buddhi means here who is not sakta, who is not attached. That he has developed that intellect, that intellectual temperament of total detachment. Asakta buddhi. That he is not influenced by emotions or getting carried away. He is seeing it totally rationally. How to act, what is his dharma. So, in such total, rational, uncontaminated intellectual environment only, you would be perfect or near perfect to judge what your Swadharma is. If you are taken over by the emotions, you will not be able to judge your Swadharma. You will not, because this is what? This is the same Arjuna. He had been taken over by the emotions, the turmoil of emotions. He was willing to go along with that flow and speaking all tall words to Krishna. This will happen, that will happen, all as if whole responsibility of the world is upon him. Bhagavan says that, these are already killed by me. You are but a mere excuse. You are giving too much importance to yourself, as if because of you this world is going on. It's not that. So our emotional contamination is because we pay too much attention, too much importance to ourselves. If that happens, you cannot make right judgment. So asakta buddhi sarvatra, inside and outside. And without that, you will not see the truth clearly. Asakta buddhi, therefore, is of the paramount importance. That removal of self-bias. As far as practical judgment taking or decision taking process is there, you must be able to think clearly. Of course, you will work to cover your interest. It is given. But when taking decision, when determining, evaluating, assessing, estimating things, you should not be influenced by those ideas. You can work for it. If your mind is contaminated by your just interest, then you will not be able to see clearly. Asakta buddhi satatra sarvatra jita atma, that the person who has conquered his mind, jita atma. The person who has conquered his mind. Jita atma. Vigata spruha, that one who is past, who has gotten rid of all desires. Vigata spruha. Spruha, that are the desires. Asha, hopes of so many things. That is spruha. And vigata spruha, gata, of whose spruha are those desires. They are gone. They have left him. Vigataha, that is well past. So one who has conquered his mind. So who does not have desire, that person might have conquered his mind. Therefore those desires are not creeping in. And therefore he can have this asakta buddhi, that total detachment. So these three things goes together. Detachment, that extinguishing your desires, and conquering of your own mind. These three things are together. You have driven out your desires from your mind, therefore you have become detached, and therefore you can be said, you have conquered your mind. You might not have attained that state, but for the time being, you can become like that for a moment. For a moment, you can become when you are thinking. Swami Turiyanandaji said that, this idea, that he said that even for a fraction of a second, you can have that Brahman consciousness. Then he said, then that's it. You only have to prolong your existence and sustenance of that consciousness. That's all. And then it will prevail. Nothing more than that. Isn't it? You have a very lofty mind and mood, very spiritually elevated. Yes, very nice. What you have to do? You have to only sustain that. You are able to do with a very grand outlook some work for 5 minutes, You only have to repeat it more and more number of times so that it becomes your nature. That is the thing. So if the person who is determining his course of action, so naturally, who has not attained the perfection, who has not become Siddha, how he will become Asakta Buddhi, Jitatma and Vigata Spruha? Definitely that he has not touched that, because that would be the accomplishment. So meaning that it would be temporarily possible. Naishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasedadhi gacchati. Here it is being talked about that the person who through the course of action swakarmanatam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava, that person slowly he attain, he become like that asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spruha, and he attain naishkarmya siddhim. Naishkarmya siddhim means though he is engaged in all action because of his total detachment, that is total effacement of his ego. Though he is doing all action, he is as it were not doing anything. No fruits comes back to him. That is called as naishkarmya. That it is not like doing nothing, but though doing, engaged in action, he is as it were not doing anything. Meaning all the evil or the fruit or attachment, results of action does not come and bind him. That is naishkarmya siddhi. Sanyasena adhigacchati. By perfect renunciation, by complete renunciation, sanyasena. What is he giving up? Giving up the fruits of action. That naishkarmya siddhi sanyasena adhigacchati, because giving up that fruits of action. He has conquered his mind, he has driven out all desires, he has developed that total detachment, and that person has attained naishkarmya siddhi. This is the state of Jivan Mukti. This is the state of Jivan Mukti, that is the goal of all spiritual discipline. So this is what ultimately this karma yoga, what Bhagavan is preaching, how to live in this world, this is his highest goal. What does Bhagavan says? Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tathapnoti nibodhame samasenaiva kaunteya nishtha jnanasya yapara. So he is further explaining that highest state. So nibodhame, that learn from me, have its knowledge from me. Yatha, as means someone attains siddhi, siddhim praptaha, yatha brahma tathapnoti. So he will attain that infinite consciousness. Samasenaiva. Samasenaiva means Samasenaiva means in brief, Sankshipta. Samasa means Sankshipta. Samasena eva kaunteya, and he also qualifies nishtha jnanasya. What is the foundation of knowledge? Ya para, which is the highest one, of which Upanishad talks about that thing. Learn from me in brief, O son of Kunti, how reaching such perfection siddhim prapto. He attains Brahman. Yatha Brahma tathapnoti. Siddhim prapto yatha Brahma tatha apnoti. Nibodhame. Samasenaiva kaunteya nishtha jnanasya yapara. He attains to Brahman, that supreme consummation of knowledge. Nishtha jnanasya ya para. So that is the same thing that is referred as para, the highest thing in the world. So, and this is again Bhagavan Sri Krishna is expressing that ideal of all karma yoga before to Arjuna. What that karma yoga is like, where that karma is supposed to lead you, this is where that karma is supposed to lead you. Which is the jnanasya nishtha, which is para, which is the supreme. That when you attain this perfection in karma yoga, you attain to that supreme Brahman. Brahma tathapnoti. Here few verses. Buddhya vishuddhaya yukto dhrutyatmanam niyamya cha shabdadin vishayans tyaktva ragadveshau vyudasya cha. Here few verses are there. Three verses. They, as if they show the transformation of that individual, how he attains to that supreme knowledge. Through this karma yoga, of course. Buddhya, through the help of buddhi, vishuddhaya, which has become supremely pure because it is uncontaminated, because vigata spruha, all your desires are driven out and you have attained the total detachment, asakta buddhi sarvatra. That's why your buddhi has become vishuddha. Buddhya vishuddhaya yukta. Endowed with such kind of buddhi. Dhruti atmanam niyamya cha. Dhrutyatmanam niyamya cha. That holding yourself in the discipline, endued with the pure intellect, subduing the body and senses with fortitude, dhrutya, dhruti dwara, atmanam niyamya cha, disciplining yourself here in the sense, mind and senses, correct? Shabdadin vishayans tyaktva, giving up the sense objects like sound, etc. Meaning that withdrawing your senses. Shabdadin vishayas tyaktva, how you will give up the vishayas? Because they are your continuous, you are exposed to them. If you withdraw the senses, that ability, the withdrawing that senses, that kind of concentration that individual has attained, that his senses are withdrawn in the mind, in its own seat, they are not outgoing. That is the state of that yogi has developed, has evolved into Shabdadin Vishayas Tyaktva Raga Dveshau Vidasya cha. Vidasya means abandoning Raga and Dvesha. Raga Dveshau here in because they are in two. Dveshau, Rama Ramau, Raga Dvesha, Raga Dveshau, Raga Dveshau Vidasya cha, giving them up. Vyudasya cha. So, what does he do? Means this is the discipline, this is how he approaches the perfection. Vivikta sevi laghvashi yata vakkaya manasaha dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashrita. So, vivikta sevi, that resorting to an isolation, a separated, sequestered plot, vivikta, that which is very conducive to him, which is not intruded by the others, vivikta sevi, laghvashi, laghu ashi, that he is eating but a little, Ashana, it refers to eating. Laghu ashi means he eats little, lives in such solitude. Vivikta sevi laghvashi yata vak kaya manasah. Vak means vani, kaya means sharira, and manasa means mind. Yata means which is controlled, which is disciplined. Body, speech and mind controlled. Then dhyana yoga paro nityam, constantly engaged in dhyana yoga. Nityam, regularly, and vairagyam samupashrita, that vairagya, that renunciation, that dispassion, he has samupashrita, he has well resorted to comprehensively. It is not for the just show off. That is his mainstay. Samu upashrita. That he is practicing it wholesomely. That is the main thing. That is the whole thing. So that is not an exception. That is not an aberration. That is his natural now tendency. This is the second thing. First, the internal faculties. Buddhya vishuddhaya yukto dhrutyatmanam dhruti atmanam niyamya shabdadin vishayas tyaktva raga dveshau vidasya cha. Then vivikta sevi laghvashi yata vakkaya manasah dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashritaha. And here now in this third verse it concludes ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam parigraham. Vimuchya nirmamah shantah brahma bhuyaya kalpate. That these faculties, ahankara, balam, darpam, kamam, krodham, parigraham. Parigraham, that is some property or which is substantial gifts, substantial endowments. So giving these up, your ego, ahankara, bala, that by which you exercise power over others. That is bala, that is darpa, unnecessary pride, kama, that is your desires, krodha, kama is lust, desires, passionate desires, krodha, that is your wrath and anger, and parigraha, that is your endowments. That giving those up, vimuchyaha, becoming free of this, nirmamaha, that becoming free of this self-attachment, mamatva, that this is mine, this is mine. So Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, me and mine, that is the samsara. This mine, mama, this idea he gives up. Nirmamaha, that person is called as nirmamaha. And giving that up, what does that? It becomes shantaha. He becomes shantaha. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He becomes now eligible, he becomes apt or ready to realize Brahman. For becoming Brahman, kalpate, he is now fit. He will become Brahman. Means he will attain perfection. Now, idea is that this is something. By giving that up, you do not become Shanta. The person who is about to become Shanta, he will easily give these things up. And that person becomes Shanta. The person whose soul is attached to these things, if he try to give this up, he will become more restless. The person now who is maturing and ready to become, enter into this higher spiritual state, for this person, he cannot keep these things. Ahankaram, balam, darpam, kamam, krodham, parigraham. Vimuchya, that person, letting it go, vimuchya, becoming free of it, he becomes shantaha. he attains to peace. That person attains to peace. For such a person, it is botheration, whose mind has become Shuddha, Buddhya, Vishuddhaya Yukto. Dhrutyatmanam niyamya cha shabdadin vishayans tyaktva raga dveshau vidasya cha vivikta sevi laghvashi yata vakkaya manasaha dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashrita. So for that person, vairagya and this dhyana yoga, para means he is constantly engaged in that dhyana yoga para. So dhyana yoga, he is oriented in that dhyana yoga. For that person, he will enjoy such solitude and eating less. It will suit to him. That person giving these worldly things up, he will become Shanta and now fit to enter into Brahman. This is the 53rd verse. Now there are few more verses where Bhagavan explains these ideas in. So next Sunday, that is 31st, we will have class, and I think 2 or 3 Sundays maybe we will finish this 18th chapter. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.